Hi, welcome back to Anyone Can Code series from videogames.vn. And this lecture, I'm going to explain you the very important concepts inside object-oriented programming. And if you would like to work with object-oriented programming, by the way, which is the main types of programming languages so far, like Java, C Sharp, Objective-C, object-oriented based, and you need to understand about classes and objects. And this is the purpose of today's lecture. Then let's just start with the main philosophy of class and objects. So I have prepared a slide here for you. So this one is what it means about class and objects. The question is, what makes a car? What makes a car? You see, this one is a car. This one is a car, and your car can be called as a system, and that system is actually made of many individual parts. Many individual parts. Okay, this is made of many individual parts, and these individual parts are called objects. Okay, similarly inside object-oriented programming, your application is actually made of many individual objects. Okay, is made of many individual objects. These individual objects are interacting with one another. Okay, then it's made your system. Okay, then it's made your system interacting, working with your system. And then inside Java, how do you describe this kind of object? Okay, how can you create this kind of object? The idea is that the first thing first, you need to be able to describe about the object. It's just like you need to be able to describe about the wheels. Okay, before producing the wheels objects here. Okay, so in that terms in Java is called the class. Okay, that terms in Java is called a class. Okay, that terms in Java is called a class. Okay, and you can use the class to later on create the objects. It may be one or it may be many objects of the same types working for your system. So that's why you need to understand in Java programming about classes and objects. So right now we're going to start with the first one, which is the class. What is a class? Again, as I said, the class is only description about your objects, not real objects, not individual one. It's a description about the will, not your will. Okay, so what is a class right now? Is the class is an abstraction. It's just an exception, not any real things. Just like imagine, you can just imagine like the user manual of phone and a phone. Okay, the user manual is just the description of the phone. It has described all the functionality and properties of the phone, but you cannot use the user manual to make a call. You have to use the phone to make a call. That one is what it means by abstraction. And this one is the first feature in object-oriented programming, abstraction. Okay, now it is an abstraction. Used to describe, okay, collections of specific collection of objects in your system. Object normally of the same types in your system. Of the same type in your system. Let's just give an example. You have many wheels here. 1, 2, 3, 4 wheels. But to describe about them, you just use one description to describe about them. And later on, you're going to produce 4 wheels based on that one description only. Okay, that one is what it means. Now, as an abstraction used to describe collection of objects of the same types in your system, correct? Now, I already explained what it means about an abstraction because you already not are gonna use it to make cones or it's just describing about collection of them, many of them. It's not any individual, not any specific one. Must be of the same type. I already explained. Okay, so normally talking of describe, what do you describe? Okay, normally inside the application, the description is consisting of command characteristics. This one is common data, okay, of the collection of objects, okay, because they are of same type. So we're going to describe only the common characteristic because we have a collection of them, but they have same types. That's why we can describe the common things. Okay, then and this is normally specified in forms of normally specified, okay, just say common characteristics. Let's just give an example. If you say students, okay, if you say students, then this one is a class. If you say class students, this one is just an abstraction. You know, it describes collection of many students, like student A, student B, student C. Just imagine inside your class, you have many students there, but not anyone specific over there. Okay, not anyone specific over there. That's why it's called abstraction. Then it's to describe many students, not only one. Okay, it's a concept describing many students. And inside this one, what do you describe? You describe the common characteristics. What common characteristics? It's actually the data. Okay, let's say you're going to describe, if you are telling that you're a student, you're going to have the data about your ID as an integer. And then let me tell you, why do I declare here? You see the declaration here is a variable. If you don't recognize this one is a variable, then please read again about the variables and data type part that I demonstrated up there. And why do we use variable? And in this case, it's called a member, okay, data member. And this one is used to store the common characteristics of the students and its data. Why do you use variable? Because it's a description of many students. You don't give like student A or student 1 or student 2 or student 3 or student 4. If you give student 1, 2, 3, 4, then you only have 4 students. You cannot make your program as flexible as possible for many more students. Okay, that's why we make variables here, so that it's gonna store ID for any students. Okay, then you may have another variables like string name of the student, int age of students. Okay, this one, why do you just store ID, name, and age? Why don't you store something else, some other characteristics of the student? Let's give an example about not. How about why don't you store about the let's say tallness of the students? Why don't you store about the fashionable things of the student? Why don't you store about gender of the student here? The reason is we are not trying to describe the complete student objects. We are trying to describe the students with the relevance data. Okay, with relevance. What do I mean? What do I mean relevance? It means that you only describe or capture or store the data needed for the business operations. Okay, for the business operation or the operation of the system that I'm developing right now. Okay, and in this case, I only need ID, name, and age of the students. Okay, then what else it's going to describe? It's going to describe, beside the common characteristics, it's going to describe also about the common behaviors. Okay, and normally they are in form of methods, or actually it's also can be called as functionality, or they are some actions or some task that the objects of this type, of this class, can do first. Let's say if you make a car, if you make a wheel and you just put a wheel like this and it's not doing anything first, then it is useless. You cannot make a system. So the system, that objects must interact with one another and complete some tasks, so that we'll have the complete system. Okay, so that's why we need to, beside describing common characteristics, you need to also describe the behaviors or the functionality or the task that the student would like can do first. And in this case, this one is common. This one is common characteristic. And in this case, we also need to specify the common behaviors that the student can do first. Okay, that the student can do first. That common behaviors is, let's say, if in my system, if I said, if you're a student, you must be able to greet people. And the behaviors is in form of methods, in form of functionality, or in form of tasks. It is actually described as functions, or it's called method inside object-oriented programming. That's why I'm going to write here as function. If you don't know what is a function, go read the previous video that I posted. Now, this one is, we're going to say void greet, because if you're a student, you have to be able to greet people, and you're going to display a greeting message here. And also you can say, if you're a student, you have to be able to do math for me. So you're going to need to do something like this one. Beside void greet, okay, you need to be able to do int add. Okay, you need to be able to do to add, let's say, two number, int x, int y. If you say that you're a student, you have to be able to add for me. So the student can add, and it should do int g equal to x plus y. Then it's going to return g. Okay, so this one is mostly the frame of a class. Of course, there are a lot more things to specify, but I'm gonna explain about the other things later. Okay, you need to understand this one first before moving on. So now, when talking of the class, it's only the description. It's an abstraction. Just like the user manual of a phone and the phone. You cannot use the user manual of the phone in order to make a call. You have to use the phone to make the call. And the phone, one specific phone is called an object. It's just like you cannot say, student, go add. Then who knows who is going to add for you? Except the case that you would like all of them to add together. But this one is not the case. It's a static function, and it's not the case that we're going to use this time. So if you would like to tell a student, greet, okay, greet, then it needs to know who is going to greet. Okay, and in that case, you have to create an object. Okay, or you have the description of the wheels. Okay, but you have described the wheel, but if you don't have the wheels itself, it's not going to do anything. In that case, you have to create objects. So object is an instance of a class, or it's called an occurrence of a class. Okay, or it's called an individual objects. Because objects is a class is an abstraction, describe collection of them, and object is one of them. And for being a class, it must be a specific one. Individual one means it must have the common characteristics. The characteristics, okay, the characteristics or the attributes of the class, okay, must hold values. Okay, must hold values. Okay, must hold values. Then let's say if I'm going to create a students, let's say I'm going to create student one. Okay, then it must hold the values that ID equal to 1, then name equal to, let's say, meter 1, then age equal to 20. So the objects of a class, their characteristics must hold some values instead of comments just describing some variables like this, because they are holding values, they are specific one. Okay, but this one is only a variable, so it can contain anything. So that you can also create another object of the same class, which is student number 2, with different values. This one is different values. This one is number 2. This one is meter 2, and this one is like 18. Different values and different variables here. Okay, and again, you can now use the student 1. You can tell student 1 go greet. So normally you can say student 1 dot greet is going to greet for you, or student 1 can you just do the add for you, int g equal to int result equal to student 1 dot add is going to add 10 and 20, and it's student 1 is going to do the adding for you and going to return the things for you. So that one is the main differences between class and objects. Okay, classes and objects. And next part, I'm going to show you about. Let me just see if I can have anything else to say. Object instance of a class, occurrence of okay, its value. Important thing is, once again, when you create the objects, its variables must hold values. And the variable ID here is different from variables ID here, because this variable ID is holding values for student number 2. Okay, there are 2 individual 1. Okay, and next time I'm going to show you how to create the object from your class. Okay, as one again, if you just have the description of all the student and you don't have any student inside that, it's useless.